Hey everybody, this is Perch. It's interesting. There's a lot of differing opinions, obviously, in comics. There's a lot of people with different perspectives. There's a lot of people who read things and they read into things the way they want to read them. And as with everything in life, your mileage may vary. What is a absolutely terrible kind of sin to you may be perfectly acceptable to someone else. What always strikes me is the way that people come in with their fists up when defending their positions. To me, it always comes across like the person who's overly aggressive doesn't really believe in what they say. They're overcompensating a little bit. I'll give you a couple examples. With the I posted this video a bit ago about the Mortal Hulk number 50, and the fact that at the end, all the creative team basically thanked each other, thanked the full team. Joe Bennett, who's been, of course, ousted by Marvel, thanked Al Ewing, even though Al Ewing absolutely, on no certain terms, made it clear his disdain for Bennett. I'm starting to wonder if Bennett actually saw any of that. But who knows? And Al Ewing didn't write anything in return. Now, in my opinion, that was kind of I use the word class. I think it's not classless. I didn't want to make it negative. More that I think when you get to the end of a project, whether it's building software or, creating a construction site, building a building, or making a comic, I think great leaders thank their team. They make a point to not stand in front and say, me, look at me. They thank the team. For what it's worth, and I'm going to be confusing a lot of people going left and right here, that was one of the things that irked me about Trump a lot, is that his personality was often to say, I did this, I'm great. Now, he would thank other people as well, but he thanked himself first and foremost. That's not my style. That's not the way I like to do it. Again, other people can do whatever they want. It is a free country. The difference between, I think, what I'm saying here and what others have said other places is I don't want to get in there and force somebody to do it my way. This is just my way. As long as people leave me alone and let me do it my way, I'm fine. I'm fine with you doing it however you want. But it was interesting to see people in the comments come in and do two things. I got two very hostile negative reactions from opposite ends of the spectrum. One of which said, oh, this is, Bennett made his own grave, cry harder. I'm always fascinated by the person who chooses that approach. If my videos are bringing that kind of emotional response, I got to figure you're on an insane hair trigger. Because the most accurate feedback people have given this channel is that it's dull. I think, what was the description? It's like a teacher that I don't really like. Is the way they describe me. I understand. I don't do hot takes here. I don't do very aggressive things here. Every now and then I get worked up and animated by things, and I think most people find it pretty just hilarious than anything else, because it's clearly not my personality. It's not my style. So I think when I see somebody come in and go, they're getting really frustrated about it, really, really angry, and especially when they come in swinging, like cry harder, loser. Cry harder for what? For what exactly? Saying, I think it would have been more classy if everybody would have been thanked for the comic? I mean, my God, is that really the hottest of hot takes? In the other direction, I saw this person comes in going, Al Ewing is a liberal scumbag. When are you ever going to realize this, you fucking cuck? Again, cool. What is it that's generating that kind of response? It's weird to me. It's just weird to me. And I know that a lot of people send me mail at various times really wanting me to understand that, those two sides are different and one is worse than the other for various reasons. But when those are the kind of responses you're staring at, when you're talking about comics, which I understand the culture wars, I understand the frustrations of comics, I have plenty myself, but really most things about comics are benign. And when I say benign, I mean not anything to get your blood boiling. At least not mine. There's plenty of stuff that gets me angry. Make no mistake about it. I am not a guy who just walks through life in a tranquil Zen-like state. There's plenty that gets me angry. But, for example, Danny Lore writing a boring, cringy comic. Yeah, that doesn't make me insane. I'm sorry. I just don't read it. I've got nothing invested here. I'm like, oh man, this is destroying 50 years of champion's legacy. No, it just doesn't matter. I don't like it. I can still not like it without stamping my feet and getting myself into a frothy mess over it. So I have trouble understanding people who do. And when I see people going to that level, it's hard to see them as different. One person stamping their feet because, John Kent is gay. The other person stamping their feet because people are saying John Kent is gay, or I guess bisexual. If you're up there kind of screaming and stomping your feet and calling people, I would love to just like meet somebody, like you're in getting coffee and you just happen to glance over at somebody's computer screen. I try not to do this. I don't. By the way, I've seen this as kind of a generational thing. When I see somebody like trying to log into something, I look away. Even if they're not even looking at me, I look away. It's almost I'm trying to prove to the room, no, I'm not looking over your shoulder at your password. I'm curious how many people listen to this are like that. If you can remember back to what it was like when you were in an office or somewhere, you see somebody typing, you automatically just naturally look away. I'm noticing a lot of people today just keep staring at the screen. It always like, what are you doing? What are you doing there? But imagine you're in a coffee shop and you see somebody typing and you see them typing the words, cry harder, you cuck. I've wanted to just like, hey, let me just grab a chair here and slide on here. So what's going through your life that you're writing those words? Because that's you seem those are lunatic words. You're on the spectrum. You're a few steps away from like grabbing your own fecal matter and writing on the walls. That's where you are at this point. So what's going on in your life that you're trying to interact with somebody that way? Because that's a weird way to interact. Just saying. And by the way, the defense of, well, I'm just joking. It's just a joke. That's not a good defense because it's not a funny joke. You sound like a lunatic. And I'm just joking, don't take things so seriously, lulz, is, as like I've said before, you don't have to pick dick as your personality. You can pick something else. There are other options out there. But regardless of all that, it's amazing to me kind of in this world of comics, what people choose to get really hung up about and what they don't. It's been a very long run. I definitely think some things are horribly off track in certain areas. I also think there's a lot to learn. One of the areas that you might dig into a little bit is what if, and this is a what if, but we'll play this scenario out. What if the entire premise between John Kent and making that character bisexual and having the relationship with Nakamura and kind of everything that's there, what if that is somewhat a response to the fact that manga is surging in popularity, and one of the large manga subgenres right now is BL, Yoe. What if that's kind of some of what's at play here? If so, still kind of a crazy idea and marketed poorly. And if you're going to attack that genre, you're going to need to market and do more aim toward that genre. But I would say if you're a accountant and you're sitting there and you're like, a lot of money has been made over here in this BL genre. Maybe we should play in that too. I mean, it's not the craziest idea. I'll just throw that out there. It's not the craziest idea. There is a lot of cash in there. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I believe the BL genre alone in manga is probably stronger and more profitable than most of DC's line, if not all of it. Just saying. It's I would actually, wouldn't it? I guarantee you I'd be alone in this. But I would be actually thrilled if it turned out that DC had a strategy session and they sat around and are like, okay, we got some accountants here and we're showing you the numbers. This is what BL is doing, and we see how the growth are. We see how the market is, and it's an area where we have some opportunity. Marvel's kind of, they're not really attacking this market, but we can. And if we strategically, get a comic out in November, then that's going to enable some trades that are going to come out in this time period, and this is how we're going to capture the market. Like, I would, as crazy as it sounds, I would go to bed more calmly and comfortably that night. Because in my mind, I'm like, oh my God, somebody is making decisions based on a business strategy. Is that crazy? That's where we've come, by the way. That's the level we've sunk to. It would be amazing to me if there was a thoughtful strategy behind it. I doubt there is, but I'm the person where even if I don't like the outcome, even if I don't like where things are going, if I feel like it's being that decision is being made via kind of rational decisions and thoughtfulness, I'm happier. For whatever, it makes me feel so much more comfortable, even if, I still want to dislike, I'm still not going to support it financially. I'm still not excited about the direction, but the fact that it's made based on, business sense rather than just some crazy ass idea and nobody bothered to stop. Because a lot of people have mailed me saying, well, do you think Shirley must now admit, or what is it? So the word people have been using with me a lot is, you must concede. Please don't say concede. You sound weird when you say that, but you must concede that editorial has an agenda now. I'm not ready to concede that, because, and I know there's people furiously typing right now like, you dumbass, how could you not concede? Cry harder. I don't, who knows what you're doing. But when you look at that company and you see an incredibly short-staffed editorial team with very little experience, you see members of the senior editorial team on Twitter posting about, crying fits and barely able to answer emails and other things. It's hard for me to say, yeah, this is a group of people that's executing on anything coherent, any kind of agenda. This is a group that's barely able to keep their head above water. That's how it looks. And I know there's some nuance to everything I just said. It's not that simple. And of course, of course. But I think sometimes one of the biggest mistakes I've seen people make in their lives is assuming intent where there is none. Not because the people are good people, but because they're nowhere near competent enough to pull off intent. And I think with comics, we often assign kind of vast plots to people who, just struggle to get through the day. Once upon a time, the people, you go over to somebody's house and you look over at the digital clock or the VCR or the DVD player, and you see it just blinking on 12. It's just blinking on 12. Whenever I would see that in somebody's house, I would always think silently in the back of my head, here is somebody who doesn't have their shit together. This is somebody who's not they do not have their life together because, and I'm not, of course, maybe your power went out, you unplugged it and you plugged it back in and it reset the clock. I get it. I get all those things could happen. Probably not as much anymore because this is an old person problem. But if you consistently go over to people's house and you see the blinking 12 every time, it's like, here's somebody who is not taking the time to set the clock properly just to get rid of that annoying blinking 12. They've got something that is bright light blinking at them, showing an incorrect, unusable bit of information, and they're choosing to just leave it there and let it be like that. Sometimes the comic industry feels like big parts of it are blinking 12, and nobody knows how to set the clock. So there you go. There's your analogy for the day. Cry harder. Thanks for listening.